Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. I don't know what this voice is, but Subhah,
Hi.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Subhah's an amazing comedian, hails in Los Angeles. Where are you from originally?
Suburbs of Chicago.
Oh, Cago. Okay. Yeah, another great comedy town. That's awesome. Yeah, you have, I love your stand-up. You're very, very funny. You're a great performer. I'm very happy that you could join us
Thank you.
today.
It would be funny if you didn't like my stand-up.
Yeah, I'd be like, so actually brought you here to be like, why are you in comedy though?
This isn't a podcast. This is an intervention.
Yeah, so like we don't know you that well. Liam, not at all. And we thought we would be the like just authoritative on like what you should do with
Honestly,
your career.
I would love for somebody to sit me down and be like, stop doing this.
Like every comedian feels that way. Every comedian's like, hello darkness, my old friend. Like every time. And you live and die on how good your set is. Like last night I had some good sets and I was like, I'm walking on sunshine, don't feel good. And then when I have a bad set, I'm like, I should kill myself. I joke about killing myself a little too much on this podcast.
It's okay.
But it's just because
It's
I'm a
fine.
comedian. It's
Yeah.
fine. I'm not going to actually do it. I'm a narcissist. We don't kill ourselves. So it's fine.
I'm not going to do it for a while, so don't worry about it.
Over a while.
Yeah, I'm gonna have this spiral in my 40s, but like it's not gonna end well. But I got time. I got like 16 years.
Yeah, I see you like falling head over heels in love with the girl, getting married, having a few kids, and then finding her fucking like her tennis instructor, and then you freaking out and blowing their heads off with a shotgun before turning it on yourself.
Dark.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
dark.
that's like my Miss Cleo, like what I see for your future.
Yeah, I think I'd do something quieter than a shotgun, but yes, yes to definitely gonna eliminate my family first, and then myself. For sure.
How else are they going to join you in heaven?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you didn't know you are very religious, clearly.
Extremely, yes,
Yeah.
devout.
You could
even.
tell by like the lack of like, you know.
All right, let's.
Liam just
Well,
looking with laser eyes.
Let's get into one of our first questions. Never go to bed angry. Good advice or no?
I don't even understand that because who the fuck can sleep angry? Like when I'm genuinely angry at my husband, I'm not sleeping. I'm like walking around the room. I'm like, what the fuck? Like I literally, he had a conversation with me and this is bad. I shouldn't have done that. Like, he was asleep and I couldn't stand him being asleep. I was so angry. I like shook him awake and like hit him with a pillow. He's like, you can't do that.
There's
like,
nothing that makes a woman angrier than a sleeping man, than a peacefully sleeping man. I'm like, what are you fucking so peaceful about, huh? What are you dreaming about?
especially when like we're arguing. You know, it's like,
yeah.
what, how are you? You get to sleep. I can't sleep. You get to sleep. You're the one that fucked up. I'm right. You haven't seen it yet. But like, I can't. Like, it gets me so angry. I can't sleep.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think that's good advice. What that advice usually, I think that's such a totem of like the old world where it's like, don't, because you always hear like an 80-year-old being like, the secret to marriage is don't go to bed angry. And it's like, yeah, because women weren't allowed to speak
It's like, yeah,
back then. Because then they'd be like, listen, if I divorce you, you're basically going to be homeless. So
Also, those were like back in the times where people just died every day. Where it's like, don't go to bed angry. She could die of the vapors. And then, you know, like, you know.
yeah, you're going to get cholera. You can't go to bed angry, you know?
that old lady's giving you advice. You're like, your husband hits you still. That's your.
Well, I don't get angry about it anymore, and that's why the marriage works. So if you overcome your anger by endurance, then you're fine.
Dies of a heart attack when they're 47 because
Yeah.
they just have so much just calcified hate inside their body that just fucking makes their heart stop working. Well, I think also there's something so bizarre to me of just even the concept of like, don't be angry. And maybe that's something more about me. You know, I feel like I can practice some mindfulness, you know, like I try to, you know, be cognizant of the things that I communicate with what I, you know, withhold or omit and what I share, you know. As you get older, that gets a little bit easier, you know, to kind of be like, all right, is this worth a conversation, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know, sometimes because we get mad all the time. People get mad all the time. I get mad at my boyfriend for things all the time. And then I'm like, wait, like I'll be mad and then I'll be a little like, and I'm like, wait, what's actually happening? What am I actually mad about? Like, it's probably not the way he's chewing his food. That's probably not the thing that's actually upsetting me. But it's really hard. If I'm angry, it's really hard for me to just be like, okay, stop.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of those things that's not meant to. I think a lot of people take it literally because we're all dumb. We're like, I'm not supposed to sleep. I think what it means.
That's so funny.
It's like, I think they mean don't hold on to shit. Like, don't, like, long term, you know what I mean? Like, don't rest on your anger or whatever the fuck. Because, like, otherwise it just doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's just to generally, like, make sure you let go of, like, little things.
Yeah, because that's actually probably more of it. Because even this, like, if you step away, like, a lot of times I'm like, if I'm upset about something with a significant other, I'll be like, okay, let me just, like, step away for a little bit. I'm gonna, like, do my own thing for a bit. Just, like, go on a walk, do something. And even in, like, 20 minutes, you're, like, better. Like, you're like, oh, that's fine. When you're in it, like, you're married, so you, like, know the minutia of what a relationship can get into, where, like, you start, if you will cannibalize each other with the most idiotic, stupid conversation about, like, well, it wasn't the way, that's not the word you used, you actually said that, and you're all of a sudden, like, the bickering becomes this, like, innocuous fight that neither of you even remember. I get so confused in fights sometimes of that nature, because I'm like, wait, what happening? And I think if we just step away and stop, like, you know, going so into it.
You're 100% right. Yeah. And I don't know what it is about being on a podcast that makes me want to say things that make me extremely unlikable. But here we are. I'm like, put a microphone in front of me. Let me ruin my life. No, but I agree. And, like, sometimes I'm like, okay, I have to let go of this anger because it's crazy, or, like, now's not the time. But this is how fucking petty I am. Like, it's a miracle I'm fucking married. I can't believe I did this to this day, because I was going through the notes on my note app. I wrote down, remember to be angry about something. I was like, remember to bring up the fact that he said that shit. I was like, bro, did I seriously do that? It was like 1 a.m. I was like, remember to have this fight.
I respect that move.
No,
like
there's
that.
we as women, we have notes apps.
Isn't
so
that
then
crazy?
that are like that are titled the name of your partner. It'll be like Ben, and then you have like a list of. Liam looks very scared.
That's terrifying.
It's so
is that
fucked up,
is that
but it's-
universal? Like, you're all doing that?
I literally
It's
wrote
kinda
that down.
true.
Do you do that too?
Yeah, well, I'll get angry about something. Well, here's the thing. I also think journaling
Yeah.
is good to do, because sometimes you'll write shit down, and then when you reflect back onto it, instead of like spewing it at your partner, when you're like, you know what, this is a little out of hand, or when you write it down privately, you can say all the shit that you're really not allowed to say to their face, like, I fucking hate this bitch, why are you friends with her, blah 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 blah, like all this crazy shit that is not, you can't share that because it's not appropriate.
And it was like we had kind of like reached a resolution in this argument. We were both so angry, and I was like, I can't bring this up now. But I'm gonna wait until we're having a good time and then ruin it. Like, it was just in my head.
There's another like old adage of, you know, would you rather be right or happy? And I think that's pretty
right.
You'd
for
rather
sure.
be right. I know
For
that's
sure.
that's
Every time. I'd rather be right.
See, this is why you're gonna murder your family.
Yeah.
I'd rather be right and, like, destroy a relationship. Than,
you're like, I'm gonna get the last word.
We'll see. What'd you say? One more time? Okay, I thought.
I've also found that, like, if I don't address something, it'll build and build, and then when it comes back again, like a few months later, it's worse. It's like it's been sitting it's like it's been shadow boxing in the back of my skull. So it's like I almost feel like I have to address certain things, which is also part of the reason I wrote the note. But it's like it's weird and it's petty, but I'm like, if I don't because I grew up in a really unhealthy household, and I feel emotionally, at least, like, we didn't know how to resolve. My mom still doesn't. But it's
your
like,
parents still together?
yeah, I mean, they're Indian and they're arranged marriage.
Yep.
So
There
yes.
you go. Gotta be.
Yes. But it's wild because, like, you just had a blowout fight, and then you didn't talk about it, even though nothing was resolved. And I didn't know that's how people didn't function until I was in college and I had roommates. And they're like, Subhah, what the fuck is wrong with you? You just screamed at us about the dishes for 2 minutes and then asked if we wanted ice cream. They're like, that's not what people do.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's like I had to learn how to, like, communicate or, like, work through issues in, like, a healthy way. So I'm, like, always very conscious of, like, I have to talk about this or it's gonna fucking come out crazy.
Well, it festers.
Yeah.
And I think that's universal. And also I can identify with, I'm Persian, and I think that there's some. My mom would scream, like would say insane shit to me, scream at me, and then be totally normal.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, okay. What the fuck is going? Like, it makes you feel insane. And
No,
my
it
dad
does.
is just like a classic white guy, so he's like, can't expose anything, okay? So it was so weird. It was like someone who was so stoic, and then somebody who like screamed at the top of their lungs.
Dad is just putting all his emotions into his New Balance sneakers. Tie these laces.
I have probably several questions, but I've always been fascinated by the arranged marriage thing.
Yeah.
My first question would be, who arranges it, and is it like an old Game of Thronesy type thing where it's like you will unite this house with this house because
I mean, like, I'm sure there's kingdoms somewhere, but that's not what most people are doing. I think like it's a really it's probably changed a lot from like what it was centuries and centuries ago. Now it's more of like your parents find a boy or a girl, and then they introduce you, and then you like talk for a little bit, and then if you vibe, you get married, and then
So you have a say in it still.
oh yeah, you do.
Okay.
It's honestly, have either of you seen Indian matchmaking on Netflix? Okay, that's a lot more almost what arranged marriage is like, but it's like it's almost like you're checking somebody's LinkedIn account where it's like, oh, they went to this school, they have these interests. They call it bio data a lot of the times, like a boy or a girl will send bio data. So it'll be like their picture, their education, their family background. And then they try and find somebody similar for you, which is better than Tinder. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know why I was fighting this so aggressively when I was younger.
Well, what's interesting is that, you know, the numbers are arranged marriages do very well. They're
I
like
mean,
success rates higher.
I think I saw something where arranged marriages where divorce wasn't stigmatized did about as well as love marriages. I think I saw some other study that came out. Because also, like, motherfuckers can't leave. Because then when you leave, it's like it's like a black mark on your resume where people are like, I'm sorry, what were you doing between 92 and 95?
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
Well, yeah, and it's also like in that situation, that's your community as well. So it's like it's not just divorcing your significant other. It's like you're leaving an entire community of people that you've built up with this person.
Yeah, because
that's difficult.
it's a lot of like merging families. There's much more family focus when it comes to arranging that shit, because it's like you're bringing two families together and the parents meet and there's like a whole discussion and shit. So yeah. In that way, it's Game of Thronesy. Less murder, less incest.
How did you meet your husband?
Through comedy. Don't do that.
Is he a comedian?
Yeah, I mean, he was. He kind of semi-retired. This is kind of dark, but he denies that he said this. I haven't scrolled up through the Facebook messages to prove him wrong, but he did initially ask me out, and I said no, because I don't like to date comics, because it generally doesn't end well, and then you have to see him around all the time. And then he messaged me back, oh, my whole family is dead. Nothing ends well. And I was like, what?
Oh, wow, Liam, you have a lot in common with this guy.
Yeah, that's
Family
good.
Annihilator.
Yeah. My whole family's already dead, but my new one will also be gone too. So.
But like that, I'm like, what do I even fucking
Wait,
say
his
to that
family
shit?
is actually all dead?
I mean, immediate, different like health things, which was like,
Oh.
So did that make your
Super.
pussy like super wet?
oh my god.
Like, was he...
I was like, oh my god, fuck me now. No,
Oh my god, you're so dark.
Wait, he said that on like
you're
Facebook
broken.
DMs?
Can I fix you?
Yeah.
He did say that on Facebook Messenger, and I was like, what? And he's like, you didn't know that? And then it turns out he had a comedy album about his family passing away, which
What's
is
your husband's name? Who is he?
Sean White.
Shaun White.
Yeah.
Snowboarder,
Not the
Sean White.
snowboarder.
No. But it got like, that's what he had a lot of his success was from that initial and the attention he got. So he was surprised. I met him later in his career, so I didn't know that. And then I actually listened to the album because I was so curious, because that's an insane thing to say to somebody. And the album was so sweet and so heartfelt, and like I could see that there was like a mature, like emotionally deep human being who'd like been through a lot and was like kind and loving. And then I was like, and then I started talking to him again. I was like, I listened to the album. It was very good. And then he sent me that Rudolph gif of going, she thinks I'm cute. And I'm like, I didn't say that. But then like,
Sent you a gif?
a gif.
That's
I know.
that's like pussy dry now. First pussy wet, family dead, pussy dry, Rudolph gif.
What's wrong with the GIF?
I don't know. It's always like a gif of like Michael Scott being like swoosh,
Oh
like
God!
swoosh or
Like,
something
if
like
it
that.
was
And you're like,
if it was Michael Scott, for sure.
Yeah.
Dead family, Rudolph, ocean in my pants.
Yeah, just-
Apparently. But yeah, so then I kept talking to him, and then we went out after that, and then it just clicked.
How is being married to somebody who, like, are your parents kind of like, Suba, we wanted you to marry an Indian man, or were they kind of that ship has sailed? 'cause
They
you're a
were
comedian?
they're very broken. They're very all of their hopes and dreams for me are extremely broken. I do mean that. I think I've like devastated their expectations, and they already knew somehow that I was dating a lot interracial. Like I've dated almost every ethnicity except East Asian, oddly enough, which was not a choice. It just didn't work out for me before I signed a lifelong contract. But it was. So I was like very open to any culture, whatever, as long as like we vibed. So she already knew that somehow, which I thought was weird. I'm like, because I had never. The only person I'd ever gotten serious enough to like post on Made had a crazy stalker ex-girlfriend. So I had to take down the picture
Christ.
immediately, which was funny because he was like, oh, don't post that. My ex is gonna. I'm like, are you cheating? I was like, I didn't believe him. And then I posted the photo, and then I got this crazy bitch.
Yo, you gotta. Okay, can you elaborate on the story?
Yeah,
I'm
please.
very interested.
I like posted a photo of us together, and then I'm trying to remember exactly what she did. I think she also did the crazy thing of started sending food to his house, and he's like, why did you
What
wake?
kind of food?
I don't know.
Sounds
But
awesome. Sounds great.
He's like, I got you Chick-fil-A.
I think it was
miss
the
you.
thing where you have to pay for it when it shows up at your door. And I think she ordered him I think she was just doing crazy
Oh, she
shit.
did like prank shit.
Yeah. And then
Okay, okay, Ashley Kutcher, at it again.
I thought she was like baking him cakes and like putting her pubes in it, like
Hilarious.
Midsommar type shit.
Yes, dude. Oh yeah.
who was eating mystery cake.
Or
but
just like putting fucking like fentanyl in like, you know, baked goods.
she like, I'm trying to remember exactly. I feel like I'm going to fuck it up. She was like DMing me weird shit. And then she made a bunch of fake accounts of using the photo of me and him together, and we're like, this is my guy, we're together, and like started messaging, and that was like the creepy cyber shit was like, I was like, ugh, I should have listened, you know.
Was she okay? How long ago did they date? What did he tell
I
you
don't
about
remember.
this prior
No.
to? Okay,
Yeah, it was only when I went to post a photo where he's like, don't do that. And I was like, what?
and then when a man, here's the thing too. Whenever a guy's like, oh, I have a psycho ex, I'm like, what did you do to that poor woman?
I know,
You
I'm like,
you don't
oh.
believe him.
Was she's psycho, she has to meet your mom? Is that
Yeah.
what happened? Like, I just didn't. I
She was
should
like,
have
hey,
listened.
can we be more clear about like our relationship? He's like, dude, this bitch is a fucking psychopath. Like,
Somebody call the doctor. She's crazy.
dude, she's fucking Bundy level psycho, okay? She's like trying to get clarity, like, so she can configure her emotions.
She followed me on Instagram. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, dude, like, what's next, bro? She's gonna Lauren Bobbitt cut my cock off. Drop cock my dog.
Drop cock.
Drop cock.
I love
I've
that.
had too much caffeine.
I love that as a term for cutting off dicks. Drop
Yeah.
cock.
That reminds me, I saw this tweet. It was probably one of the greatest insults I've ever read. It was about one of the Harvey Weinstein victims said that it was a quote under a picture of like a decrepit Harvey Weinstein. It was just like his dick looked like someone had cut it off and then sewn it back on. And I was like, that's the greatest chirp. I don't know if I'd ever come back from that.
Oh,
like, that's so
a
tough.
Frankendick?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got old Frankendick. Well, sometimes your dicks look real weird where you're like, why are the balls completely a different color than the shaft, which is a different color than the penis? Have you been sunning?
Look, I grew up getting hand-me-down clothing. I'm like, as long as it does the job, it doesn't have to look nice. Like, am I...
That's the thing too. And look, pussies also like sometimes they look a little interesting. Let's say that.
Vaginas are weirder than dicks are.
Vaginas are a more intelligent design because they are tucked away. They're not going to get snagged on a fucking branch or something. Back in the day, where like I was like, how are the men the hunters when they have this like gonzo face coming out of their body? You know, these like droopy balls.
Well,
like, aren't they? That's not good for hunting. That's not good for running.
Dude, adrenaline dick, you might as well have a vagina.
Oh, because it
If I-
goes so in.
If I'm like pumping adrenaline like in an emergency situation, my penis is
Vanished.
in my hips. It's fucking it's not there.
Really?
Yeah. Oh
Your
yeah.
penis has been abducted by the fear in your brain.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Yeah. It's nuts. You'll be like, that's crazy.
Which is interesting. Like, does that also occur when you're like working out? Like, I think of adrenaline. Like, when you're exercising, does your dick like disappear?
No, but I don't.
That's
also,
how
I don't.
that. You know how they've been complaining about the iPhone new crash technology, where it's like we can't detect when you're in an emergency. That's how it should detect.
Yeah.
Hey, your dick is like barely visible. What's
Your
happening?
your
It's like-
dick is in your belly button.
Did
Are you in an emergency?
drop cocked?
It's like a Tesla hitting the brakes when you don't even see a car stopped in front of you. It just like already does it. I don't think I'm working out that hard to have that happen, but I'm sure some people.
Yeah, I
are.
was just trying to make a loose connection between like, super like bulked up muscle guys and maybe like their propensity to have like smaller dicks because of steroid use.
Oh,
Could be that.
brutal.
Which is so funny because I'm like, why would you want to fuck those big muscle guys? I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to fuck one of those guys. What do you want to fuck an ice sculpture? That's what it looks like. It's like fucking a giant ice sculpture.
I got hit on by a muscle man once, but I'm not like one for one night stands. I was like doing closing a show in Syracuse, and he hit on me, and I was like, if you were somewhere local and this wasn't a one night thing, and I got to know you to make sure you weren't crazy, because I'm like, you can't take a chance on some dude with like fucking cantaloupe arms being crazy.
Yeah.
He can just pop your head off like a Pez dispenser. I'm like, I gotta get to know you, man. Like, this is crazy. But I for sure would have hooked up with that dude. Are you kidding me? How bizarre. I guarantee you I've never felt those textures before. Like, I would just be curious.
You're like, wow, it's like a basketball. And it's like a bunch of sports balls like
like-
that made a man.
It's like fucking, in my head, it's like fucking a pile of hard grapes. Does that make sense?
Oh
Just
my
like a lot of-
god. Yeah, well, I've described fucking like a really skinny girl as like sticking your dick in a bag of hangers, which I think.
It's pretty accurate.
Have you?
No, but it feels like that would be the most accurate. I've never fucked anyone that's really that skinny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's.
I mean,
probably,
hey,
that's
everybody's
different
beautiful.
textures.
Everybody's into a lot of body types. I was curious. I would have done it.
I honestly would, like a big, because it's like you want to feel like it's borderline though, because you're like,
Oh, I want to feel like a little tiny, sexy child, baby. Fuck me, little big boy.
but at the
Wow.
same time, he's like, it just feels like he could literally take your body and actually just be like, oh, let me slam it against
I
a
know.
wall.
It's so
Like literally throw you against a wall to like Kill Bill style, where you're like, oh,
I also think it's like very delusional of me to be like, oh, I better be careful with this muscle man. I'm so fucking weak. Like, I could be taken out by a jockey. Like, what am I thinking? It's nuts. I was like, oh, you're too much. I can kick everybody else's ass. You're too much.
Yeah, it's like it's that Big J bit where he's like, his girlfriend was like, oh, thank God I'm not dating one of those psycho UFC guys. I wouldn't want to date a guy that could just snap and beat the shit out of me. And he was like, I could beat the shit out of you.
Ah, that's hilarious.
Wait, back to the stalker thing real quick. Have you guys ever had a stalker / have you ever? What's the extent that we've all stalked, but not like whether it's just via Instagram.
Not
What's
ever.
the highest level you've done of stalking?
I have had some run-ins. I have never stalked. I've done like an Instagram like deep dive. Maybe like the worst is like we're all guilty of it. It's like looking at somebody's ex-girlfriend or somebody they used to fuck. Like that to me is like the extent, because then you're going to a third party. You're like you're not even just looking at the person you're interested in. You're like looking at like, it's like when you get in a Wikipedia wormhole. And all of a sudden you're like, now I know where Lou Ferrigno is born. Well, how did this happen?
I don't even consider that stalking. I consider that doing my own research. You know how anti-vaxxers are like, I did my research. I'm like, that's what that means for me.
Yeah, flat earthers are like, no, I know. I did my own research. I'm like, okay. Yeah, which is so fun. Flat earthers are so funny to me because if you watch any video about them, it's always like a guy with a few teeth like pointing a flashlight at a basketball
talk
and then being like,
about-
see that? You see that don't make no sense. And you're like, what is this demonstrating?
I always feel bad. I'm like, born in the wrong century, bro. Like
I
a couple of
know.
centuries earlier, you would have been like the best scientist. They would have been like, oh, you're right. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Back when like home science was actually how we were discovering things.
Yeah, they would have. The church would have loved you. But back to stalking. There was a guy who started on the internet. I didn't know him at all, so this was like pure. Like this wasn't somebody that was once close to me and then just like didn't know boundaries. This was a person on the internet who would DM me on Facebook, like somebody. I've talked about this on this podcast, but you know people in your DMs that have been having a conversation with themselves for years.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them, and it's really terrifying. We need a minority report these people because they're going to do something.
For sure.
But this guy was just Facebook message, like all the time, and like really in-depth stuff. Like you could tell he just wasn't mentally all there, like truly. And then he moved to Los Angeles. And then he, in person, like came to something I did, and I'm like, so I get like paralyzed by fear like that. I know that I would die. Like if anything happened to me, like if something, I would be like, oh, like I don't fight or flight. Like I would just be like,
You deer.
I
You
just
deer in headlights.
pause, and I'm like, so he came to this thing I was doing, and a girlfriend of mine, like he was like talking to me, and she was very like no bullshit about it. She's like, hey, this guy really creeps me out, and I was like, oh, he's fine. Like we're in a public place, like it's kind of weird. She's like, okay, and she was like actively pretty rude to him. Was like, no. You know, and I was like, and I get really I'm like a fucking 1950s housewife. I'm like, I hope everyone's having a good time, even though inside I'm burning alive. You know, like I get really uncomfortable with just confrontation. I get very uncomfortable.
Because you also never know when it's gonna make it worse.
Yes, and in this case,
yeah.
it kind of did, where he then kind of had like a spaz out, where he's like, well, I didn't even really want to, and kind of freaked out at her. Then he left. And then he would try to come back again, and then I would have to show his photo to the doorman at, this is when I was DJing quite a bit, and I'd be like, hey, you can't let this guy in. And so he tried to come back to this other venue I was DJing, and they're like, it's a private event. Then he would, like, then he'd DM me this long thing of like, I don't understand, you know, the things I've done for you. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, I've hooked you up with people, like, in the industry. And I'm like, what? Or, like, what? No, like it didn't make any sense to me. And then just to put like a cherry on the top, and the last thing I'll say is that then he went away, and then I think I blocked him, which also the blocking thing actually scares me more. Like people are like,
you
why
don't
don't
know
you
what
just
they're
block it?
saying. Yeah.
You don't know what they're saying, and also they know that you blocked them instead of being like, oh, I just never saw your messages. Like if you never see them, then there's like, because blocking feels like an active like halt.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, years later, he comments on my Instagram like an actual photo that's like not a DM, so it's like public. He goes, I was like promoting some comedy show, and he's like, oh, I wish I could be there, but I can't leave the state. He was like, he's in jail or something, or he's on probation, and he's like trapped in, I'm not going to say the state because he might be listening to this, but he is trapped in a state in the East Coast that he can't leave. But he said it as like very casual, like not a joke.
Boy.
Like, oh man, I would love to be there, but you know, fucking the cops, you know, they can't, I got this ankle monitor.
But that's like how unhinged people are. No, it's like I get a lot of that. I get a lot of like guys like overly talking to me, and it's like this isn't a relationship. Like I don't owe you that. It's weird. And then yeah, no, it's a lot. It's really stressful. And then I always just try to like ignore it. But sometimes it goes on for like years and years. And you're like, what the fuck?
Oh, like 6 years, 7 years. I mean, I
Yeah.
have people like 7 years deep, and they're called parasocial relationships, where they have this, they have a false sense of intimacy with you because you share things online,
Yeah.
like your stand-up or whatever it may be. And so they think, oh, this person, I know them, so they know me. They don't really understand the one-sided aspect of
Yeah.
it, or that you're a fucking entertainer.
And it's like I don't mind having like a quick exchange with somebody, and it's like, you know, always happy to meet people who are like into what I'm putting out, but it's not when it starts going in depth and like you start like just messaging paragraph. I'm like, oh no. I was like, somebody get me the fuck out. Like this is scary.
Yeah, it's really weird because it makes you feel like there's a lot more of like, I think that the internet allows for this like pernicious mental illness to take effect. Like we don't really see it out in public, but you see people's behavior, and you're like on the internet because they're behind a keyboard. And so there's this anonymity, and you're like, oh, there's like a lot of people that are like not well here.
Yeah.
You know?
Nina Stalker, sorry she was so ungrateful. I think you're about to get through to her. Just, you know, the second you can leave that state, baby, come hang out. We'll have you on the pod.
Oh my god.
Sorry, kidding, weirdo. Leave her alone.
Oh
Leave her alone, or I'll beat the shit out of you. I swear to God.
Liam.
I'll kick your fucking ass.
So sweet.
Yeah.
I honestly like just like a man conceptually beating up somebody for me. I do think is like without me like being like do it. Like
Yeah.
I think that's really nice.
I do it, and then I come and I'd be like, he stabbed me 3 times. He immediately pulled out a blade. There was nothing I could do. I had no defense for a
Remember I
blade.
said adrenaline penis? Turns out that's a farce. My penis was out and I got drop cocked.
I got
The tip of my penis is now gone. It still functions, but you don't want to see it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That what was it? Parasocial?
Parasocial relationships.
I realized I was in one of those this weekend because
me.
I followed this girl on Instagram like 6 months ago, and it was like like someone I had never met, but I had been seeing her posts for 6 months, and so I saw her out this weekend. I said, "Oh, hey, what's up? Like, how's it going?" And she was like, "Oh, nice to meet you." I was like, "Oh yeah, fuck, we've never met." And I was like, I thought like I just seen your face and what you've been doing. Like I know about your fucking vacations and shit.
That's not so. That's not super. Creepy.
That's not.
Yeah.
You weren't being inappropriate.
You weren't
or
DMing
anything.
her
No.
baby photos.
No,
were you?
I never talked to her, like commented, just
Yeah,
like
that's
occasional
not-
like. But it's so funny that my brain was like, "Oh, that's like a friend of yours," and then I went up to her with the like, "Hey, what's up?" And then I was like,
done
"Oh,"
that.
the second she said "nice to me," I was like, "We've never talked or met in person. This is crazy."
Well, if you think about just like brief human history and social interactions, like the fact that we even have like social media is such a fucking weird experiment thing where it's like we shouldn't know as many people. Our brain can really only hold the capacity of so many people. And we're really overloading it with all of this media. And these things have just like never in human history have you had the outreach that we have now, which also creates this like these weird kind of like social disorders. I feel like of just like
it's
thinking you're close.
Bad. Where people are like, we're gonna connect everybody, and we're gonna be one. The only race is human race, and then we connected everybody, and we're like, oh, go, no, this is bad.
Yeah, also,
Everybody's a monster. Like, shut it down. Like,
Yeah.
it's so crazy.
I got an invite to a Facebook invite to my 5-year high school reunion, and I thought, who fucking cares?
But not even a 10-year,
It's
5 years.
It's been 5 years. We all have the internet. We know exactly. If you want to look up what someone's fucking doing, like, we'll do it. 10 years would be great without social media, so you can just show up and be like, "Hey, how's Eddie?" And they're like, "Oh, he died in a car accident." I'd be like, "No way! This is a crazy reunion." Like that's.
I went to my 10-year high school reunion because I wanted to flex because I'm mentally ill, and I was like, everyone in high school like called me dyke and threw things at my head, so I was like, I'm gonna show up and be hot, and I was dating a guy who was. You're laughing a little too hard at that. Leah. It hurts. Wow, it's red. Wow, are you crying? Are you crying?
No,
It feels bad
it's
for
just
me.
the way you said it. Everyone in my high school called me dyke and threw things at my head. Sorry, it's terrible.
Wow, he's laughing.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That's just the most I've ever made you laugh in my life. So that's concerning to me.
I'm sorry.
Like really reveling in my torment.
I'm sorry.
Interesting. I went to my 10-year high school reunion, and at the time I was dating this like gorgeous idiot, and it was so great. Like we're like movie star model level hot, and it was dope because I show up and I'm like, there, and I remember this guy that was like on the football team, like classic like fucking jocks and cheerleaders versus like the weird fucking punk kid, who's like me. And he was like, "Damn, Nina, you look fine," which is such a 2004 thing to say. You know what I mean? Like,
Did he also follow it up with, "You make me randy, baby"?
oh my
Like how-
god. If you want to make people, by the way, this is good party advice. If you want to make somebody feel disgusting, deplorable, make them do a Austin Powers impression. Just do it at a party.
I'll do it freely.
go,
Nobody
go.
asked. I just did it.
Yeah. No, if you're at a party, be like, dude, Austin Powers will be like, "Yeah, baby, do I make you on, baby?" And then they're like, "Oh, that felt bad."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you look
Immediately makes you
stupid."
feel awful.
Yeah, like you look like an idiot.
We have an Austin Powers impersonator coming to the office on Wednesday. If you'd like
Oh,
to
is he
come.
the really famous one that really looks like
Wait,
him?
are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Yeah, if you want to come hang out with him.
Wait, when?
Wednesday.
Oh, I'll be here.
Yeah, he'll be here like
That's
all
so
fucking
funny.
day.
I'll be here.
Yeah. So side note, yeah. I've also like never.
We should have a contest of like who he sexually harasses first.
Okay. You.
I'm gonna ask him to finger me, so it'll be
Yeah.
consensual.
We have a Jack Sparrow impersonator coming, and I feel like that's probably like your type. I know you're spoken for, but
First of all, you know that Captain Jack Sparrow is the antithesis of my type.
yeah.
I like clean men with like short hair. I cannot stand a man that's like, I'm wearing 3 vests. Like, I can't.
Not the style, just like the vibe.
Drunk?
Huh? I don't know. Like,
A swashbuckler?
don't
Yeah, I
know.
like that swashbuckler cock.
dude.
DM me if you're a swashbuckler.
Sorry. Never mind.
Wait, like him as just like Sans impersonation, you mean? The actor playing?
No. Like, I figured you would like really be into a Jack Sparrow type.
You're fucking with me, right? Are you being sincere right now?
I thought it was cool. Is
No.
it not?
No. I mean, not now.
No, not ever. I mean, it was cool in maybe the 1820s, like when that was like a relevant thing. But like, if you were like, I don't know. I fucking also hate like steampunk culture and guys that are like, I dress like I work on a railroad. I'm like, fuck off, dude. You're a barista. You work at as a fucking cocktail manufacturer or something. You know, they're like, I can't stand that shit where they're like, I wear little hats and got wax in my mustache. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't fuck with that either.
I fucking hate that. I just
I love it. I'm like, you're so fucking weird. And I love it so much.
I like guys that are like I write a penny farthing. Like when you make like
we have one for one.
yeah, when you like make something that's like
Although
Your quirky personality.
sometimes it does make me fucking insane, especially when you're living. I was like, I've spent some time in like Brooklyn, like living there when it's like getting gentrified, and like the weird hipstery shit that'll come through your street when you're like stressed out and just trying to get through the day, and then you'll see somebody dressed in a 1920s gown with a little flower pot on their head riding their little bike. I'm like, fucking, I hope you get hit by a car. I'm like, I can't process what's happening.
Like, can we call people like queer on the street anymore? Be like, fucking gay, you know? Because that's what they're trying to avoid. Like, they're like,
I'll move to Brooklyn's and nobody will call me that.
and I'm like, I will, but I won't be like gay derogatory. It'll be like, I want to say the thing that'll hurt you the most. And I think that's the thing that people said to you in high school. They called me that in high school. It hurt me. So
It's the Atticus Finch guys. So they get the wiry glasses and they hold a newspaper and they're wearing like a fucking sweater and they're like, I'm an intellectual guy that cares about. You're like, you're fucking gonna rape everyone in this room right now, aren't you?
so true. No, the guys that are like, I'm wearing vintage YSL and like, you know, penny loafers, and you know, I'm really into. Have you ever watched Charlie Chaplin movies? I just love an old film. I'm like,
You choke women, dude,
You're
for sure.
toxic. Yeah, you slap women.
Yeah.
You can only come if somebody is like close to death. Like there's.
You gotta look like you can't breathe for me to even get hard. Honestly. Like you gotta look like you're underwater for a little bit.
Blue and bloated, baby.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I don't even remember what we were talking.
Have you ever
about.
had a stalker, Liam?
No.
I think you might in your.
I have there's a couple people right now that don't, they will, like, it's not like stalkerish, but it's getting there where it's like clearly, but the thing is I'm not trying to be like an asshole, so I respond and I'm like, well, thank you, but no. And then I feel like bad.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Like I feel bad because I don't want, like, they probably listen, you know what I mean? But
Well,
it's like,
do you want it to continue?
no, I want it to stop. So, I'll
So
just-
maybe if you could say, you can actually air your like why it makes you uncomfortable.
like, we're not hanging out, you know what I mean? Like, I know you keep asking.
It is
and
Oh,
also
to hang out.
Yeah.
I feel
And
like it's
Women?
harder
Yeah.
as a dude to turn that down though, because you get made fun of, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, it's too much pussy coming at you. Like it's so much harder as a dude to be like admit you're being made uncomfortable by a woman, because like I feel like there's that culture of like, oh, it must be so hard. What'd you do? Slip on pussy juice? Like it's
Yeah, there's like,
the disc. I slipped on pussy juice.
You're entitled to compensation.
yeah, it's yeah, they're not like throwing themselves at me. It's like they just want, I guess, to hang out, but like I'm like,
oh no, they're trying to fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a girl never wants to hang out with a guy that she doesn't know unless she's trying to smash.
okay,
Period.
well, that's good to know. But it's just like
But you're not into it.
I'm not into it, and
That's
but
totally
I
fine.
feel like rude. I don't want to be rude.
You don't need to be rude. You can also like just. What I'll do is like I'll just double tap. I'll like it, and I won't say anything.
I've given the most. Hey, I've done all the really nice ways to like. I've done that like the. Hey, I'm not like. I've made it fucking abundantly clear without being clear that I don't want to do it. Like I've done. There's so many different gestures in this fucking texting way. Like there's if someone likes my message or says. If you want to come to this, like if you want to, I know they don't want me there. Like shit like that, where you can just pick up on small shit. Done all of it, and it doesn't work. So now I'm going full ghost.
Yeah, just go ghost mode.
Yeah.
Like I think, and that's the funny thing too about like women that are like, it's less common, but I think it's also like to your point. I think that people don't talk about it because I know a lady stalker. And not to me, to my boyfriend. And it was like, and I thought he was like, I was like, oh, like, again, what did you do to this poor woman? And then I was like, oh no, it's bad. They like had sex one time and she would not stop hitting him up for almost 3 years. And yeah, and he literally like, he's a very straightforward person. He pretty much immediately, like a few weeks out, because like he was like, no. And he was like, there was this desperation that like made me so like, oh, I'll never hang out with her. And then she would keep hitting me up. I think she showed up and he literally was like, I never want to, literally said to her directly, we will never see each other ever again. I never, ever want to see you or speak to you. Do you understand? Do I make myself clear? Like setting, like literally being like, this is my boundary. And she would still call him on blocked number. Like she would, like, because he blocked her and everything and like all of the stuff. I even talked to her on the phone once because like it was like, such a weird thing. And she's a cute girl, but it's so bizarre because like she seems kind of sane in other ways, but she's just like, no, but like we can be friends, right? It's like, no, like this is, it's pretty scary. Like, and I
think there's a level of desperation in a woman that once it hits that level, it's so fucking spooky. You're like, hey man, you're definitely crazy for you to be like, especially when they're attractive enough where it's like, you're fine. You don't, what the fuck? Like you're going to be okay. And then it's just like, little twinkle of I might just like
my favorite genre of murder movie. Yeah.
Oh my god, fucking Basic Instinct, bro. Like, or no, wait, is that Fatal Attraction? Bunny,
Ooh, I gotta watch
Bunny
that.
being boiled, Bunny being boiled. Glenn Close.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's really good. She's like, oh, what's the famous line she does? She's like, something like, oh fuck, I'm gonna fuck this up, dude. Oh my god, it's like. Something like, no, Michael, something terrifying. Yeah. Anyway, cut this. It's not good. I was like, oh, like, you know that quote? Me neither. I don't know.
Do you want to, I have another dumb quote here that we could discuss.
Yes.
Time heals all wounds. Yes or no?
No.
No, fuck no.
Your best bet is shrooms and some therapy, but even that's a gamble. Time? No.
Yeah, no.
Fuck out of here.
I like this. I'd like for somebody who's like lost their child to hear that. Like, you know, somebody whose child got murdered. You're like, hey man, time heals all wounds. Like,
nah.
My kid was slaughtered.
You're gonna be sad about that for.
I hope you're sad about that forever.
Give it a week.
Yeah, I have another kid.
Circle back.
Yeah.
I mean, things do degrade. They erode, like something, you know, sometimes I'll feel so, I don't know, like I like want to be like vindicated and say like I'll feel so angry about something, and it does kind of fade over time, you know, your gripes, you know, because you gotta kind of let go. I wish I could let go more. I really do. I have some resentments and everything. I think that's normal. It would be so dope if I didn't, if I was just like,
same,
it's all good. It's hard, man, because you know what's weird? I don't know if you identify with this, but do you feel like it... Sometimes I feel like my resentment is, like, productive. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's not good. You're like, no, I gotta hate this person.
Oh, you mean doing things out of spite? Yeah, absolutely.
I love spite.
And how do you think it's productive? In what way is it productive?
it's like keeping that like anger alive is like feels like a passion surging through you. And that's like
It's very toxic and unhealthy. I mean, like, when I was first doing comedy, people are like, you work so hard. And I'm like, it's because my mom was so fucking mean. Like, my entire mom, my family, like, everybody was so mean to me that I was like, they're not right. Like, everyone in high school, like, all of this, like, it's like that kid who gets bullied and then takes over the world. Like, it's not good. Like, whatever Zuckerberg is doing is not good. But spite will make you be like, everybody's wrong and I'm going to fucking prove it. But luckily I wasn't talented enough to like rise to the top. So I just was like, well, I'm going to find peace. And now I'm a better person.
Oh my God. No, that's the funny thing is like everything that I've ever done is because I want to make somebody who rejected me feel bad. Like I'm like any guy that was like, oh, like I don't really want to see you anymore. I'm like, I'm gonna be on a fucking billboard for a Netflix show, and not because I want it, because I want you to be like, oh, I used to fuck that girl, and you're washing cars.
I used to think about that. When I like would like just break up with a dude, and I'd be like auditioning for something. I'm like, oh, if my face was on that fucking bus, like I just.
Yeah, then he'll regret it. He's like, he won't. Like, I've like fucked guys who then like got really, popular or whatever. And I wasn't like, oh my God, I should have. I've been like, oh, ew. Someone likes him enough to like put him on a bus? That's crazy.
That is productive though. I guess that's good.
I mean,
it's a fire under your asshole.
It's like that very toxic saying of like, let the bridges I burn light my way, like some shit like that. But it's
like anger poisons yourself more than anybody else. So it's like you have to like let that shit go, and it's more sustainable long term to work from a place of like positivity than it is negative. And then you're just like weird, and like nobody wants to be around like the angry person where it's like, oh, you want to fuck me? I'll fuck you. And it's like, we're getting coffee. Can you like relax?
Nobody wants to be around the angry person. And it's like that old Buddhist adage of like resentment is like taking poison and expecting your enemy to die. It's like, it's so toxic. And look, anytime you talk to a friend and they're like, yeah, well, and they're talking shit, that to me is like, that is your lowest common form. Like that is just like such a lowly place to be. And we all need to vent, and I get it. Like it's cathartic to like be like, I'm mad about things and to air your grievances. But I have some friends where I'm like, yo, dude, you've been angry about the same thing for like years. And actually at this point, you're just wrong about it. Like maybe in the beginning, like, yeah, like that was shitty that he did that. But at this point, I actually just am not even on your side anymore. That now I'm like, I'm even doubting if your side was ever good. Like, what?
You ever think you're past a situation or something that's happened to you? Like a relationship type thing, and you're like, I'm chilling. And then you're either like a little bit drunk or a little bit on shrooms, and a fucking song comes on. You're like, oh, it's there. It's all there still. Like I thought that this ball of shit was gone, and then it's just like, what's up, dude? I was hiding, but
there was like a comic, which was why one of the many reasons early lessons I learned of like not to generally, of course I married a comedian, but like not to mess around in the industry, like super toxic, super fucked up. Like I've like consciously been trying to forgive this person, but I can't. But I thought I was at a place where I was at peace. And then we were stuck on like a road show lineup together. And like all of that anger started slowly coming back and back and back and back. And it was like wild. And I was like, oh, this is bad. I got to get out of here before I commit a felony. But it was wild to like see all of that shit just like claw its way to the surface. It was like nuts.
It's still, look, we have to, unless it's almost going back to this thing of like the kind of like going to bed angry thing. It's like, you got to really actually excavate the thing. Like to be, it'll still be there. It'll fester. It'll fucking be there. But if you can it's really acceptance. You don't even have to be like, oh, like I have to like make this okay or whatever. Even if it's so fucked up, you were like, okay, I accept that was fucked up. That like fuck that person. I accept that fuck that person.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I mean, that's easier said than done. That's like coming to a place of peace with something. But
it's so hard.
It's hard. And look,
so
it's like
hard.
so many times I'll give like friends advice that I'm like, wish I could take that. Like, wish I could do that. But it'd be like, yeah, you should like really move on. And like, there's greener pastures. This person was really like
Just texting an ex.
energy.
Yeah. Don't go back to the old well.
Oh my.
You up?
Oh my God. It's so bad. But like, it doesn't do you good, you know?
It doesn't.
It doesn't do you good. There's the time healing all wounds thing too. I'm just like, it's something like so, it's like what people say to be really insensitive after a relationship. Like you get your heartbreak and you're like, well, time heals all wounds. I'm like, Barbara, shut the fuck up. Like, there's like,
It's not time, it's therapy.
Yeah.
It's I guess it's kind of good in a way because it's not that time heals all wounds. It's that you can move on and like live a full happy life even after like something super fucked.
I think reframing something is actually a better way to heal. Like, and I think sometimes you have to do that with a third party, a la therapy, because that's the only way. Like because you can't. The limitations of your own brain are just going to lead to the same conclusion. And a lot of times, like, you'll just be like, oh, I'm just going to the same conclusion. And sometimes when you just talk to somebody else about it, they'll be like, oh, have you ever thought of it like this? And you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah, that's so helpful.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
And like, I had a therapist tell me this about like, because I've had things like come up from my past where it was just like an emotional fucking punch. Just because like a story in the news or something reminded me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they were like, you're not going to get rid of what happened to you, but it can become like a small thing in your rearview mirror. Like as you move on, which like at first was like making me so angry. I was like, you mean I'm scarred for life? I'm like, fuck you, give me back my copay. But I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, it is a positive thing. Because if you think about it, if you look at your bathroom mirror, there are like spots all over it, but you're not fucking paying attention to like a dot of toothpaste in the corner. And then like a lot of the times, the more you move on, the more love and like happiness you fill your life with. It's just a dot in the corner. And then it's like, yeah, sometimes you're going to look and see it and be like, oh, fuck, you know, but it's not. Like you move on and like
it's also that whole like I don't want to be like whatever. I think a lot of times like if you're at a place where you're happy, you know, in your life or other things have happened, it might be because of that negative thing in a weird way. Like you don't really understand the whole like butterfly effect thing where it's like you really don't know what leads to what. And I think of like, you know, we'll paint like something with like that was a negative experience. So it's like, well, without that negative experience, maybe you actually wouldn't have done this, which has led you to this positive experience.
Yeah.
You know, sort of thing. And I think that we'll just look at things like, I wish this didn't happen. And I don't want to be insensitive because there's certain things that are just really terrible, like terrible that have happened to people that there's no like, well, when God closes the door, he opens the window. Like, oh, tell that to somebody who's like a victim of rape. You know what I mean? Like tell that to somebody like, no. So I don't like that sort of thing. But, you know, people that are like victims in some way, shape or form, I think a lot of times from knowing people like that, they're like, look, like I was able to like get on the other side of it to this point where like I wouldn't even be the person I am. Like I'm so strong now because of that. It's like, did they wish that thing happened? Fuck no. But
I know that's like the best way to be, but I'm like, I wish I was like weak and just mushy and like lived a life of luxury and no conflict. I wish.
Well, you would be miserable in a different way.
I don't know, just mushy boy king. That is the life I want.
The only way that you're not miserable, it's not even if you like were like a fucking princess, you would be miserable. Still, the only way that people are not miserable if they're like lobotomized, essentially. Like I think really that's the only.
I know people that have had horrible things happen to them, raw dogging it, no therapy, like fucking. They're obviously not emotionally great, but they're fine. They're fucking.
We get it. You're from Boston.
Yeah, you can. There's also the option of just fucking fuck it. That hurt. Ow. I'm gonna hold on to that until I die, and then. I'm just gonna, without knowing it, have it affect every relationship I have. From now on.
That's so.
Do it, dude. It can be done. It can be done.
That's always like that's usually like the male thing to do, where it's like they're just like kind of choose misery as though it's like I'm a man, and I'm like, oh, you're a man, so you're fucking miserable. Like that doesn't. They're like, yep.
You swallow your emotions, you let it turn into cancer, you stop emotionally connecting with your wife and family like God intended.
Hopefully there's a war, you get drafted. There's options, dude. Just pick up a shovel, pussy. Just stop talking about it. You gotta build this fucking house, dude. Shit.
I thought
Pick
you
up
were saying,
the hammer.
I thought you were saying
cigarettes.
shovel pussy, and
Oh,
I
no.
was like, yeah,
Oh.
that's a shape.
Yeah, I guess it is. There are vaginas that are shaped like shovels. Jesus.
Have you guys ever had shovel pussy?
That's the title of this episode.
Shovel pussy. And people are like, what does that mean? We're like, you're gonna have to find out.
Dude, that'd be like my indie rock band name.
Shovel pussy.
What's up?
No, that's like a toxic. That's like, what's that horrible band? Nashville Pussy.
Ooh, that's a band.
It's a band. They're not good.
I haven't heard them. Nashville Pussy.
It's like all guys that look like they're in Duck Dynasty and probably
Hell yeah.
have the same politics as them,
Fuck yeah.
with
What's
like
the
Confederate flags
point?
like
Oh, never mind.
on there.
I didn't know what the Duck Dynasty
What
politics were.
what a disservice to all of the pussy in Nashville. Can I just say?
Oh,
There's also a band called Cunt Puppet.
hell yeah.
Okay, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Cunt puppet.
That's kind of funny.
Is that like a fisting joke?
I don't.
It sounds
I think
like
so.
one.
Right?
Yeah, I believe it. I would believe it.
This has been really productive.
Yes.
Yeah. Should we do another question? Where are we on time?
I mean, we're pretty good.
We're pretty
bold.
good. Wait,
Coming
do you have
in
any
about an
questions
hour.
for us, Subhah?
No.
And you're like, I'm really, honestly, depth-wise, I'm pretty tapped out.
Yeah.
Getting to learn about you
Honestly,
guys.
I wish I had learned less.
My only regret is that I listened.
Anything to plug? Any plugs?
Yeah, sure. Go to s-comedy.com. That's my website. I have my album Dog Show. I have a web series Downward Mango. My tour dates, Instagram, social media. It's all on there.
Sweet.
Sweet. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh,
Really
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Give Subhah a follow. She's super duper funny. She posts a lot of stand-up clips. She's great. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Subhah.
Thank you. This was fun.
Sick.